Brian to give us his ideas about the Tree of Life.
There's symbolism rampant in this movie. I just don't know what the hell it's symbolizing.
You know what? I completely disagree. I think this is a movie where he said, you know what? Fuck metaphor, fuck symbols. I'm going to tell you about everything. He refuses symbols. And I think that...
Sorry. What were the dinosaurs? What were the dinosaurs?
They were
just
not
dinosaurs.
They were dinosaurs.
He was just showing you dinosaurs.
He's basically saying in that scene, he's like, okay, instead of using a metaphor to tie like the meaning of existence in the beginning of the universe and the development of mankind to the death of one boy, I'm going to just show it to you. And so he shows it to you. He doesn't use a symbol. He doesn't like this banana means, you know.
Yeah.
It's just like, he's just giving it to you straight. And he refuses to use symbols in this movie.
Maybe that's why the symbolism didn't make sense.
Yeah. Because it feels like, it does feel like a movie that's so populated with symbolism. And there's definitely, I mean, the religious undertones and philosophies in this are pretty massive.
Yeah.
To the point where they're overtones.
Yeah, to the point where it's like, I mean, yeah, it starts off with Job, and it's... Steve, give us your take on The Artist.
This is a movie that I had to warm up to. Like, at first, I was like, and partly I was watching it, and I was just trying to get it done because we had to do it for the podcast, and
right.
You know, so I went into it with that mindset, which is always bad idea. But I still, like, the first half an hour, I was like, okay, this is kind of annoying. But then, especially once things start falling apart for him as a character, that's when I latched onto it, and his acting really started showing. Mm-hmm. And I think the real transitional scene is when he's having that dream, and he can hear.
That dream's awesome.
And the feather just goes boom. And that nightmare sequence, that was incredible. From that point on, I was completely hooked. Mm-hmm. And it was...
That was brilliant.
It's an amazing movie. The fact that it reminded me, for one, how important score is in a movie. Because that's pretty much what the movie is. I mean, all the sound aspect of it is score. They convey all the emotions, everything with score. Mm-hmm. At least, orally. And then it also reminded me how unimportant dialogue is. Yeah. I mean, a good actor should be able to convey things without, which we'll talk about Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. Oh, yeah. Should be able to convey without saying a single word. And everybody in this was... I have a lot more respect for John Goodman, even though he was kind of...
So we're going to talk... the next movie, I mentioned it. I think this is the movie that, if The Artist doesn't win, would win Best Picture. And that's The Descendants. Mm-hmm. I'll start the review on this one. I thought this movie... It was a lot better than I expected. Mm-hmm. A lot of Alexander Payne stuff I don't really like because it's so calm and quiet. It is that very kind of low-tone kind of comedy. Doesn't really make you laugh out loud. But something I appreciate about this. This was actually genuinely very funny. Yeah. I think it's an amazing performance by Clooney. Mm-hmm. And I think it hits home a lot. It's very complex. And to me, it never really did what was expected. Yeah. It was surprising all the way throughout and realistic. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think there's a lot better movies, but it was in my top 10 of the year. I was really, really impressed by it.
I feel like we didn't watch the same movie.
Because really? I loved it.
I came out of this movie and I'm like, okay. I mean, I saw this before it was even nominated for Best Picture. So yeah. I saw it about 3 weeks before it was nominated. And I came out of it and I'm like, all right. And then when I heard it was nominated, I was just like, why? I mean,
Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. Brian, take us away.
It was a movie. It surprised me, actually, because I didn't think it was as bad as all the critics.
Yeah, critics are tearing this movie to pieces.
They're tearing it apart. Well, I guess they're not tearing it apart. It's about a 50-50 split of people liking it and people disliking it. Mm-hmm. But
a lot of people are saying it doesn't deserve to be nominated.
They're saying that mainly because it's like half the critics don't like it. Yeah, and it is like.
So what?
And with that, I mean, you have to say that, okay, the critics are probably the people that are voting for it, so how did it get 5% of the vote? Well, it only needs 5%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
I think it got that because of there are scenes in this film that are more powerful than any scene I've seen all year. And I think it got nominated almost on the merits of certain scenes alone.
Yeah.
The moment where he's like, anytime where Tom Hanks is dying in that film, I can't.
Yes.
I was crying a lot in this movie. It really emotionally affects you, but I think it's so unbalanced. Because there's some other scenes. The Help. Steve, tell us about The Help. Because me and you were reluctant to see The Help because we were afraid that it was going to be one of these movies that was like a happy-darky kind of racism movie.
And I think it was.
Ooh.
I think this is like, white people are awesome.
Blindside all over again.
They help black people stand up for themselves. White people are great. And
really?
that's I mean, I appreciate that this wasn't like all the black people were really good people and all the white people were really bad people.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little more complicated than that. That one lady did steal and she did something wrong. And, so I mean, it's a little more complicated than that, but I still think it's, look how white people help black people stand up for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like the movie at all. I thought there was some terrible acting by Emma Stone, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Really?
She did some terrible acting. I did not for a second believe that she was a good writer.
Not particularly.
No, I did not like this movie at all.
This was better than I expected. I don't think it was happy, like really racist, happy-darky kind of story. I don't. Hugo was the next movie that was nominated. We'll just talk about that one. We talked about a lot with The Artist, but we'll talk about it briefly. I'm really pleased that it was nominated.
Mm-hmm. I'd be really happy if it won.
Yeah, I would too. I think it's a beautiful, wonderful movie, a big departure for Scorsese. Mm-hmm. I think it's perfect. It's wonderfully acted. I think it's flawless. I can't see too many problems in it. Yeah.
I agree.
All around.
Mm-hmm. If we have a full episode just on it, Kevin was here for us with it, and we talked about silent films. It's absolutely amazing. I was not expecting this. So the plot is a man wanders around Paris, and at midnight, he's able to transport back in time to 1920s Paris, which would have been like Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald hanging out, and Pablo Picasso.
Little Eliot action in there.
All kinds of classic writers. So, Brian, how'd you feel about it?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure what to expect because I don't watch a lot of Woody Allen, so I wasn't sure.
You're going to be really disappointed if you watch more Woody Allen.
I probably will. However... But I mean, like, I don't know how he writes. I don't know how his characters act, how they speak, anything like that.
Yes.
So, but what I really liked, basically, my favorite part of the movie was his turn around, where he learns basically about himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they have Midnight and Inception, and there's he goes back to 1890s Paris,
and it's done with like Toulouse-Lautrec and.
He's like, this place sucks. I don't want to be here. I want to be back in the 20s. But then I realized, wait.
The present's kind of disappointing.
The present is where I am supposed to be.
Yeah.
But there were some things I didn't like when he finds the notebook and, like, he's written about inside the notebook.
Yes.
Like, what the hell?
Moneyball was also nominated for Best Picture, which I loved. Yeah. I think if I could pick anything like out of this, like my favorite, like the one that I would give the Oscar to, it would be Moneyball out of this list. It's not the one of all the movies this year I wish would win, but I've got a list. I would give it to Moneyball. I think it's beautiful and amazing. I think it's a perfect film.
If it wasn't about baseball, it would be a perfect film. But it's about baseball, and baseball's boring, so yeah. That's that.
Brian did get a chance to review it, so I'm actually curious about his feelings on it.
I really enjoyed it. I'm surprised they didn't nominate that horse for something. You talked about the dog from The Artist.
I think you're right. The horse.
We should have an all animals Oscar.
All animal Oscars. So it'd be the dog, the horse,
and that's it.
There's got to be more.
And the animated cat from Cat in Paris.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed it. It was like the way the horse touched like all these people's lives and how they all came back together at the end. Mm-hmm. Aside from all the people who died. But I mean that's the time period. It was the war. So
yeah.
It's basically what it was.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think this is like, you know.
Now they're like baseball.
This is an amazing movie.